Yeah, it's condensed. Like, we have the ability to produce a lot of this brew house can produce a lot of beer.
Right. How many employees do you take to get operating this?
Well, so in terms of actually working the brew house and the fermentation, it's just 3, including the brewmaster Justin.
Okay.
Then we have a whole packaging side. So we've got one person managing that, and then they have like a team of 4 guys.
Right.
Plus. The maintenance guys sometimes help them out. You know, occasionally we pull
cleaning
from the
stuff
other.
and
Yeah. So, so that's just down on the floor, and then there's the sales staff and the management and the office.
And I was thinking the operation of running the brewery.
Yeah. For the running the brewery, just the bare bones. Like, one person could really do everything, but that would be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like. That would be for, so what I'm doing right now is there's Justin's the brewmaster.
And you are?
I guess I don't know, his assistant. You know, titles.
Yeah, right.
Who needs them?
Who needs them? Yeah. Part of the team.
Yeah, especially when you don't have a title. Just kind of.
You work here.
Yeah, I work here.
You make beer.
I make beer. God damn it, I make beer.
Awesome.
So there's Andrew. And myself, we do most of the brewing kind of production stuff. And why it worked out is we've started splitting the day. And so we're gonna be flopping back and forth week by week on that. So one of us starts early, say 6 o'clock, and then the other one will start a little later, say 10 o'clock. And we do 10-hour days.
And how many days a week?
4 or 5. I end up doing about 50 hours a week on average. So it's pretty typical though. It's a lot less than what I used to do, so you can't complain, right?
So why were you doing more before?
Well, before Red Truck was tiny, right? We were just in North Van.
Right. That's where you started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took over from Dave Varga, and it was just essentially Sam and I, plus a few other people, and it's get the beer right into kegs and go. And so we were really bringing that brew house.
So you're pretty small at that point over in North Shore.
Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out exactly what the multiplication is in terms of size, but to be clear, last year in North Van, we ended up doing 3,600 hectoliters for the year. This year, without pushing it, we've managed to do 12,000. So
you said
3,600 to 12,000.
Yeah, that's like 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys started off like
but that's with
small little operation.
Yeah, and
like
so
you're probably one of the original small craft breweries.
Well, Red Truck is part of our James group. There's Yaletown, there's Big Ridge, there's Whistler, and there was Taylor's Crossing, which is where Red Truck came out of. So it's been in existence for more than 10 years, but it's only been in draft. And so our profile was super low, and it kind of was just built organically from the ground up with Dave Varga and Sam Payne. And Sam Payne just, he bartended in the evenings and would come move kegs during the day and sell them. So, his neighborhoods were where he went first, right? Like Kitsilano, Gastown, downtown. And that pretty much was the blueprint of where our sales was.
So your growth was organic. It was just,
Yeah, everybody, you go to, every small brewery is doing this. They're just slinging kegs, hustling, trying to get it into places and get that, a higher profile.
So was being part of the marketing group, did that allow you to move into this kind of facility?
Well, this is still the Mark James.
Right.
This is actually not the group. This is just Mark.
Right.
Um,
you mean it's not part of the group?
No, this is his. This is he. And that's actually the whole. Just to go onto the brand, like Red Truck is. That's what he's got a whole story behind it. You know, that's who picked the brand. That's whose story that is. He loves trucks. I mean, as you can see out there, there's a great picture. If we have time, we can go look at it of him like 19 or 20, fixing up his first truck. And again, the diner, the water tower, the imagery. That's you know, like it's his vision that harks back to those kind of road trips.
You can tell that the detail is in, you know, it's just.
And he's a detailed man. Like
totally.
Every detail he's looking at. So you know, we were tiny, and like all small businesses, it's just a bunch of heart and soul and sweat. And you know, we did this kind of crazy jump to this. But yeah, I mean, there's still, all the core people are still here. We've just added the family's gotten bigger.
And when you jump from something that size to this size, is it basically just a multiplication of what we were doing before, or does it change in terms of...
No, everything changes. Everything. Hence why we brought on Justin Vicarious from Molson. Yeah. So he escaped. He
what?
He escaped from Molson, you know, from jumped the wall, and came over to the craft side. And it's, I mean, but that, like, what Molson does is, you know, he was trained at Harriet-Watt. He worked there for 15 years. Is he has the experience and the knowledge for bigger production, especially in that jump. If something is boring and nobody ever wants to think about this while making beer, especially when you start moving into this size, is like safety regulations and SOPs and procedures and getting people trained up, and then also the setting up a lab, the quality control standards. You know, everybody, all the people who have gotten to this size, and we're still one of the smaller ones, is going through these growing pains. WorkSafe is now coming down, checking on everybody.
Because if you're just doing it yourself, you only have to be concerned about yourself.
Yeah, it's me. Like, what, you know, what is your safety procedure? Well, I don't go in there and.
But even the brewing process. You know, training people that. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean I feel like that's gonna change. Now that the industry's on the radar, right? Before it was just a few big places or a few really tiny places, and it was so small. But now that, you know, the hype has grown, and there's so many breweries just in the city and in the Lower Mainland, it's booming. That I expect everybody to start getting visits a little bit more often, and standards being created. So it's
attention.
It's the good and the bad of a growing industry, and as with many more businesses starting up, it's hard to argue with safety standards or with effluent standards. Like, what are you dumping down the drain? Like, well, you know, that stuff is important, and we do need to abide by these rules. But when you're in that spot from where, well, you know, it's just me to, like, oh, there's these standards that we have to meet, you know, go and do a, you know, pH reading of whatever you're dumping down the drain.
We've met a number of folks who basically have gone from brewing in their kitchen to starting a craft brewery. So again, they don't think about those kind of things. Whereas when you get to something
and
larger,
that, all respect to, I was a home brewer at one point, and some of the best beer you'll ever have will come out of somebody's kitchen. But there's always that gap when everybody wants to start a brewery, but there's a serious gap between like what the nitty-gritty and reality of production. I'm sure you've probably heard this from, you know, Daggerand or anybody else who's just started a brewery, even the Doan brothers. I mean, they're tiny, but and you know, they'll get it. It's just a, you know, a matter of working hard, but it's it's not what you imagine when you're
I
in
think
the
that's what
garage.
they said. I think they said naivety was an asset, not knowing what they were facing. So that's a good thing, you know, because they've probably never taken the leap if they.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, but also like just even people trying to apply for breweries. And the biggest recommendation I could say to anybody or do when people are like, oh, I'd love to work in the industry, is like, well, be prepared to lift. You're going to be moving a lot of kegs. You're going to be moving a lot of
Barley.
you know, sacks of stuff.
There's not a lot of glamour in it.
There's not a lot of glamour. And at the end of the day, it has to, so all the, like, it's hot. Like right now, I'm sweating buckets. And it's always hot, and you're kind of wet, your feet are wet, whatever, right? You can just, the list goes on. And at the end of the day, it has to be, when you're drinking your glass of beer, the beer that you've hopefully made and tastes great, worth it. And then when seeing somebody else drink it. And that's where I get my enjoyment, is just, you know, like, yeah, this is a production brewery, but thank God we have a little diner attached to it. Because at least I get to look over and just see somebody, you know, having a beer and enjoying it and saying like, I did that.
So you